How is it going, everybody? Hope you're having a wonderful day as always. Today's video, the flush of my 1993 Z28 coolant system. Not only are we going to do the radiator and get as much of it out of the block as we can, but we're also going to do a reverse flush on the heater core and add new antifreeze. So let's get to it. Now, my car being in 1993, it's never had a flush done on it or anything like that that I know of. I'm the second owner, and I've put so many miles on this car since buying it. So it's time to do it. Plus, I've noticed rust build up and stuff like that in the coolant system whenever I check it. Sludge, you know how stuff, when it gets old, it's time to do some cleaning, right? So we're going to be using Thermocure to put in the coolant system. We're going to drain the antifreezes in it. I'm going to do a slight, just quick water flush on it. Get everything out of it I can. Then we're going to put it back together. We're going to put the Thermocure in it. We're going to drive it, get it hot. Repetitive process for however many days you want. I don't know how many days I'll do mine. I might do it today, drive it today, drive it tomorrow, and then finish the process tomorrow. I'm not quite 100% sure yet. But with the Thermocure, it doesn't hurt anything. The longer you leave it in there, the better it is. And while we're in there, we got the system apart and everything. It's always a good idea to go ahead and replace the cheap things. I mean, this was under 10 bucks. So we're going to go ahead and replace the thermostat. It comes with the rubber gasket seal, whatever you want to call it. And it calls for, this particular car, completely empty, calls for 3 gallons of antifreeze. I currently have 2. I'll pick up another one as needed. But here's the thing. In this car, I can use either it.Cool or the all makes and vehicles type, which is green. And I am a strong proponent of running what the car calls for. The owner's manual for this car does not say one or the other. So it.Cool, I still have, this car has an iron block with aluminum heads. The later models come out with aluminum, all aluminum block and heads. So I'm wanting to get away from the it.Cool in this particular car because it.Cool can actually cause a little bit of rust, prolonged, you know what I'm saying, in a cast iron block or anything that's regular metal, not aluminum. So I'm trying to get away from that. So what I'm going to be using, and I'm not supporting this brand or anything, this is just what I picked up, is the CarQuest, all makes and models. It's already pre-diluted. All I got to do is add it in there. Do not add water, see, 50-50. And the problem that many people have when they get the kind that you have to dilute, it's okay to dilute it, but 9 times out of 10 you just use water out of the sink or the garden hose, which is wrong. You need to use distilled water. Distilled water, just without going into the science of it and everything, it's just better to do it because it doesn't have any ingredients in it that come from the water treatment plant that might react to the metals, might react to the antifreezes and stuff. But that's what we've got. That's what we're doing. And here's what we're working on. Whoa, that's tight, ain't it? It's not that bad. Now, there's no right, no wrong way to do this. Well, let me take that back. There is a wrong way. And that's just catching the antifreeze and letting it sit, or taking it back in the corner back there somewhere and dumping it. You don't want to do something like that. Or just catching in a drain pan or something and letting it sit around the house. Or just letting it run out on the ground. No, 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 no. You do not want to do any of those for several reasons. And this is just a disclaimer, and here's the reason why. Number one, as you can see right there, the neighbors have an outdoor cat. There's dogs that roam, you know, all times of the day, night. Deer that roam around here and everything. Antifreeze, the glycol in it, is a natural attractant to these animals. They will want to come up and drink this fluid. And it's not good for us. It kills us. So what do you think it's going to do to the animals, right? Number two, if I was to do it right there and just let it run out on the ground, every time I step out my back door, what do you think it's going to smell like? Plus, it's going to coat the ground. It's going to be oily. It's going to be a mess. It's no. Capture it and dispose of it properly. Capture it and dispose of it properly. Now, with that said, let's get to working on this one. All right, we're under the car. And here's the front of the car, right? Here's the back, here's the front. What you're going to look for is on the right hand side as you're laying under it is this drain cock. You loosen that up and the antifreeze will come out of this, okay? Not that hard, not that bad. And for you guys that have never looked under one of these cars, and you know, you always hear people talk about how hard it is changing plugs and wires on this car. But right there's the reason why. Look, the distributor is behind the crank pulley or harmonic balancer and up underneath the water pump. Crazy, crazy design. But as mentioned before, you want something to catch the antifreeze in. So we'll put this under here. And we're going to leave, that's right, leave the radiator cap on for just a minute and I'll show you why. Next, you're going to want to loosen this, and if it's too tight to turn by hand, that means you tightened it up too tight to begin with, or somebody else did. Look at that rust coming out of it already. Oh, rusty water. Well, you see it's just dripping, and I have it almost all the way out, okay? Now here's the reason. That keeps you from getting soaking wet, drenched with antifreeze. Now, you can come up, loosen the cap. And once you do that, that puts the air behind it and it will start coming out better. As you see, it's coming out better now. And that's what we're looking for. Now we're just going to keep an eye on that. Make sure it doesn't overflow. If it does, we got another pan right there we can catch it in. And we're just going to watch it. Alright, while we have that draining slowly, I'm going to come up here and start making preparations up here to do what I need to do. Because I need to get this off so I can get to the thermostat, which is in that housing right there. So, unscrew, pull this out, lift it up, get it out of the way. Okay, I went ahead and took the whole thing off so you get a better sight of what's going on. This is your thermostat housing, this is your water pump, okay? And then below that is your distributor, your upper coolant lines. This is one of your heater core lines. Next up, we're going to try to take these two bolts out of the thermostat housing. Be careful, go slow with it, you don't want to break them. I'm actually going to try to tighten it up just a hair to break it loose, and then back it back out. Got to be real careful with these bolts because I have seen too many people break these, and with the wrong coolant or just over time they will actually rust, and that rust will lock them in. See? So we're going to clean this up with a wire brush before we put it back on, and maybe even put some anti-seize compound on it. I'm not saying be scared to do it, I'm just saying be careful when you do it. That's all I'm saying. Because you do not want to break these off, because then you got to buy new bolts and a new water pump if you can't get them out. Now you can lift this up, try to take something, tap it, break it loose. And that gives you access to your thermostat. See how rusty that is? Now you know why we're replacing it. Now I'm still waiting on it to drain out. I got it draining slow like I told you. But I just want to go ahead and tell you exactly what's going on. Your shops have a recovery machine. The good quality shops actually have a recovery machine that pumps the old antifreeze out and pumps the new antifreeze in at the same time. So nothing's lost, nothing's contaminated, nothing like that. So it actually works pretty good. So if you have the money and there's a shop local to you that's willing to do it and the price isn't bad and you can afford it, go for it. But I'm trying to show you how to do this at home on your own so that you're not intimidated, not scared, and that you too can feel comfortable that you could do it. It's not hard. I mean, do we have to do the heater core? I do this time because I'm not getting much heat out of my heater core. But with that said, no, I don't really have to do it, but I'm going to. But back to here. Take a light and look down in everything as you look at it. As you can see, my radiator has surface rust on it. A little flaking right there on the top left, it looks like. But we look at the cap that I took off. As you can see, it's corroded. Not bad, but it's got some surface rust on it. So that's probably what is clogging up my heater core. So that's why we're doing this. Now this is one of those heater core hoses I was telling you about, so we need to get that clamp off of there. Alright, so we can get that hose off. And of course it doesn't want to come off just right, so now I need to pull this one off. Take some channel locks. Open it up. Move the clamp over to where you get to it later. Pull the hose off. And if for some reason it doesn't want to come off, you can take a screwdriver or a fancy hook. That's what these hooks are for. To get up under there like that. And then you can just work it around and break the seal loose, and then the hose will come right off. It's amazing how those things work. See, now it's all loose, comes right off. If you will leave the thermostat housing off, it'll be a lot easier to get to that top hose if you're going to do your radiator heater core flush, because it's going to be slam in the way. So now we can get to that hose down there and get it off, because this is one of the radiator hoses. If I'm not mistaken, this is the inlet side, and the one down below it on the side of the water pump is the outlet side. So let's get this bad boy off. Look at all that sludge on there. That is one of the reasons we're doing this, to try to get rid of all that. Now normally what we'd have to do is loosen this screw right here to allow any air to come out, and we're still going to do that. But with that said, normally the car has to be running for this to work, but because there's no thermostat in it, we don't have to worry about it actually heating up. Now we're just going to take this screw out, put it where we don't lose it, and fill it up with water until it comes out there. Alright, the hardest problem was getting that one hose off, because when you do it, you're supposed to take the fans out. That gives you a lot of room, but I don't want to remove the fans today, because more than likely you won't be doing it either. So the hardest part is getting that clamp moved so you can get that hose off. But got everything off. So now we're going to run some water through the heater core. Now you don't want to just blast this thing, because most of your cooling systems are only rated from anywhere to 9 to 23 pounds. So you don't want to go in with 30-40 pounds of water trying to blow through an aluminum heater core, or you'll end up with water all in your floorboard. We do not want that. So here we go. Let's see, this is the top one, so that is actually my inlet side. So I'm going to go through it first. I'm going to put my hand over that so it doesn't come out, and run some water through it. And I see the water coming out of the other hose, so that's doing alright. That's doing pretty good. Move my hose, because I don't want it putting all that water on my distributor. And do it again, real slow. Oh man, you'll see all the rust coming out of it. That is just nasty. Now what you want to do is you want to keep doing that until it starts coming out clear, then run the water through the other way until it comes out clear, and you're good to go as far as that. Now you want to see something nasty. Look at this. This is the water that I got just out of the heater core. Look at the color of that. Oh man. And that's more than likely how the thermocure will look when it comes out too, but it'd be more grayish looking. But look how much rust I got out of that. Holy moly. So now we're going to put the car back together. I'm going to put the thermocure in it, put the water in it, and then drive it. And then tomorrow, let it cool down overnight. Tomorrow, rinse all this stuff back out. So now what I want to do, come back over, take this gasket off of this thermostat, right? Look how bad that looks. Bottom of it looks good, top of it's kind of rusty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that seal off of it, I'm going to put it back in the opening, put the cover back on it after I WD-40 the bolts, and that way I can run the car with the thermocure in it and not have to worry about the thermostat opening and closing. I can just have it running straight through as it heats up and does what it needs to do, okay? Because any of you that don't know, this stays closed until heat gets built up in the engine. Then it will rise and it will up to the maximum opening. Like if you have a 160 degree thermostat, this will be fully open at 160 degrees. So that's where you get your heat from. That's where some of your thermodynamics for your engine comes from, all that great stuff. But I'm gonna take this ring off and put back on there and close that back up. As mentioned earlier, take my bolts, as you can see, are rusty, and a brush and clean them off. Nothing hard about it, just take something and clean it. You can even use a old toothbrush with toothpaste if that's what you want. But I'm just looking to get all that old rust off of there. See how much better it looks already? Because that will do nothing but get worse. And eventually it'll seize up in your water pump housing. And then you just have to pull the water pump off because you done broke the bolt off. There's that one. Do the same to this one. Then I'm going to take some anti-seize compound, right? Thread lubricant, and put on there. Doesn't take much, just a dab will do you. Just a dab. It will actually work throughout the threads as you tighten it down, screw it in. And you really don't want to tighten this down too tight anyway. I think it's only like 10 to 14 inch-pounds of pressure. It's not tight, it's just snug with a little bit of a turn on it. Like I said, just snug, and then like maybe a quarter turn. It's typically about 10 pounds. Snug with a quarter turn. And that should be all that takes. Alright, get up here and close this off. Okay, Thermocure removes rust that causes overheating in 3 easy steps. Treats cooling systems up to 3 gallons. As you can see, it says that right there on the jug. Now what it says on the back: drain coolant and flush with water, then add 1 quart of Thermocure and fill with water. Drive the vehicle 3 to 4 hours up to several days for extensive rust. You may drive the car normally during this period. Drain the cooling system and flush 3 to 4 times with water or until water runs clear. Refill with high quality coolant mixed to manufacturer specification with water. Now again, we're not using the mixed kind, we're using the pre-diluted kind. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in. I'm going to put almost all of it in the radiator, okay? Then I'm going to take some of it and put in the reservoir. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to be removing that reservoir, but anything that gets backfilled into there will be running out. Try to get all this in that we can. You can use a funnel if you want to. Okay, I'm going to put the rest of it in the coolant reservoir. As you can see, it wasn't that much. I just wanted to get some in there. Now we're going to fill it up with water. You're going to fill it slow, or if you're, what's going to happen is the radiator is going to fill up and it's going to start splashing everywhere. And it won't even be full. You fill it up slow. Recovery tank. That gives the radiator time to drain down, so the water just start to equalize. Then we'll crank the car up and wait on the water to come out the vent tube. Okay, we've got it all put back together. We've got everything picked up. Now we've got to find a container to put that in, and then we're going to drive it around the block. I let the car run for a minute. Make sure I had it full of water. Make sure I had water coming out of there. Filled this up, the recovery tank, and it is good to go. I checked for leaks. No leaks. Nothing around the thermostat housing leaking or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive it around the block today, drive around the block again tomorrow, and then I may drive it to work and back. And then that will allow plenty of time for the Thermocure to work on the rust and get this system cleaned out. But right now we're going to drive it around the block, so let's go for a ride. Now, as you can see, I'm recovering it all. I'm getting it all in bottles. Look at how dirty that water is that come. This is the heater cord, these two. What's in this and that gallon jug over there, and that is out of the radiator. But I wanted to show you this. Look at all that sediment that came out of my heater cord when I flushed it. I mean, that is just, that's crazy. Look at that. Wow. No wonder I don't get no heat. Now, if you look at my temp gauge down here, as we're running around, like I told you, it'll run a little bit hotter. It's normally on the next tick mark down, but we're about middle ways, and that's really no issue. I mean, that's to be expected. There's no thermostat in it to help control the temperature, and there's no coolant in it. All that's in it is water. So it's going to run a little bit hotter, but like I said, there's nothing to worry about. Your cooling fans and everything will take care of all that. So I'm going to continue riding around the block a couple times, and then like I said, I'll drive this everywhere tomorrow, and then flush it. We'll be done. Alright, back home. I went around the block 3 times, enjoying the day and the fresh air and all that stuff. Getting to drive the car again. I mean, I could have drove it anyway, but I just didn't have any heat. And now I'm making it better, if you will. The temp, you guys are going to look at my temp and say, oh my God, but that gauge is about 15 to 20 degrees off. Normally, it stays down around the 3rd mark. And then the fans do not come on until it gets all the way up to that first hash before the orange. And it just got up there, the fans kicked in on it and everything like it's supposed to be. And as you can see, the temperature's dropping, so that's just the way my car is. These gauges aren't very accurate. I'm planning on one day getting a water temp gauge and putting down here, or a water temp gauge and putting in a pod pillar right here. That's my plans. Well, I actually come to fruition? Who knows? But that's the plan, because I like to keep a monitor on my temperature. But with that said, I'm going to end the video here, at least this part of it. We'll pick up the next part, and when I drive it around a little bit more, and we're going to flush it. I'm going to try to use the vacuum to get all the water out of the block as I can, or I'll use air and flush the heater core again, put it all back together, fill it up with antifreeze, and also flush the coolant reservoir, because nobody ever talks about that. That's always overlooked, but it gets a lot of gunk and build up in it too, right? So we're going to do that. So I'm going to stop it here, and we will see you in the next part. So see you later. So today's another day. We've had the Thermocure in now for 2 days. I've been driving around the block, letting it sit in the yard, doing a couple of hard pulls and everything, getting it heated up, getting it circulated and everything. So we're going to do the same exact thing we did the other day. The only exceptions, if I have time, I'm going to show you how to try to get more water out of the block, get the water out of the heater core, and get the coolant and water out of the overflow reservoir. So let's get to it. First thing I'm going to do, drain the coolant down there like I did last time. Then I'm going to take the thermostat housing off, take the heater core loose. Now the thing about this, let me go ahead and just tell you, I'm going to try to use my vacuum cleaner, right? My shop vac, to suck the water out or blow the water out, depending on which one seems to work best or fits best, or they both might not work, I don't know. I know I used to be able to use the shop vac on my older cars that I had, But typically you can either suck it through one or blow it through one and it'll come out the other, because you know that's just extra water in there that you need to really get rid of. You need to get all that out. And I'm gonna try to do the block the same way by doing it through one of the hoses. I don't know if I'm gonna use the top one or the bottom one, but either or I'm gonna try to suck or blow as much water out of it as I can. But one thing you do need to know about this, after you drain it, what you want to do is you want to flush it just like we did before. Take the water hose, run it through the heater core, flush out all that stuff until it comes out clear. Same with the radiator, same with the block, all that stuff. You want to flush it out until it comes out clear. Then you can get the water out, then you can add the new coolant. So let me get this drained. Now the reason I brought you into the car right at the beginning, because you already know how to do this part, is I want to see what color this is when it comes out. Look at that. Nasty looking. Back up because we do not want to get that all over us. It's coming out of a kind of a green, rusty color look, which is kind of what I expected because it's supposed to change colors as this reacts with the Thermocure. Now let's take off the cap. It even has this funny smell to it. Not very pleasant. Here's something I wanted you to see real quick. Remember how the radiator cap looked and the inside of the radiator when I first showed you? Well, here's the radiator cap. Ah, getting it everywhere. 100% better than what it was. I mean, most of that rust is completely gone off of there. Inside, you could tell something has been at work. I mean, look at how much better that looks compared to what it did. But I just wanted to show you that. Now we have the radiator drain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cap back on it, because I have the water, the upper water hose going to the thermostat. I have it right here, and the radiator is empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this vacuum cleaner hose, put it in here, seal that off, and then I'm going to take a rag and put in the thermostat housing to block that off too. And what's going to happen is it's going to start creating a back pressure and hopefully suck a lot of the water out back into the radiator, and then we can then drain the radiator again, because like I said, the radiator is completely empty. Let's see how this goes. Let's look and see if it got anything. I'm pretty confident it did by that, but I don't know how much. Oh yeah, look at all that. What a man. Here's one of the reasons we're doing this. Look at all that sediment in the bottom of this. I mean, just look at it. It's like sand. It's just nasty, nasty, nasty. But that's what had my heater core stopped up. And that's in the block in the radiator too. So that's why we're doing this. Alright, now we're going to put the thermostat back in. But I just want to show you how clean this looks down here now. And how clean the inside of my thermostat housing looks compared to what it started out as. This stuff done a great job. I cannot complain about it. But now we're going to put the thermostat back in. Let me get you over here so you can see. Alright, thermostat goes right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start putting it back together, and then I'm going to show you the coolant reservoir. But if you look at this is your thermostat. There's no doubt about the way it goes. I mean, you could do it like this, but the housing would never close on it. It bottoms out, okay, up in here. So it goes like this. Now some thermostats have a little hole in it. Somewhere around it, this lip and this lip, there's a hole. And what that is a steam valve. It allows the steam and the air to go by the coolant. So if you have that, what you want to do, pay attention when you take the old one out so you know which way to orient it, because that's the way you want it to go back in. You do not want to get it crossed. All you do is just drop it down in there, right? Make sure it's in the hole good. Take your housing, set it down on there, and take your bolts that we now have anti-seize on it because we don't want them to rust. Start them. Alright. These thermostats are so much better than the old ones because they come with that rubber seal on them. Back in the day, you'd be trying to do this and that rubber seal would move. So what we used to do is take grease and put on the thermostat or the housing, and on the gasket, and that would stick the gasket to the housing or stick the gasket to the thermostat. And then you just line up the holes, set it down in there, put the cover on it, and then the bolts will go right through. But again, all you're going to do is you're going to snug it down. Alright, snug that big boy down. You're going to go snug, right? Snug, and then like a quarter turn. Because like I said, you do not want to break these. Okay, we got all that back together over there. Let me put this, I keep forgetting this. Can't forget that. Put that back in there. We got all that over there put back together. All the hoses are on, all the clamps are on. Now to get this out, we have to take the battery out. So that's going to take an 8mm wrench. So let's take the battery out. As you can see, there's a bolt right there. So there's a bolt right there that's got to come out. And then the whole thing should lift right out outside of taking this clamp off. Man, since this time change, it's getting dark early. But anyhow, you want to, this is a 12mm. Get a socket, and if yours isn't really rusted, shouldn't be any problem. If it is rusted, put your extension on there, take a hammer or something, and lightly tap it. 9 times out of 10, that'll break it loose. There's a plastic pin that holds on the wire housing, and then down here, there's another, let me get the light, let me see it. There's another pin right there, it's plastic. Need a panel porter to get that out. Stick it down in there. Yes, you can get it up under there. And then knock right up on it. So already got the hose undone. Now let's see if we can get this out. There we go. What a mess. But now we can take this over here and clean it out, flush it out really good with the water hose. And that's for you that don't know what happens with this is, you have a tank somewhere that you fill up with your coolant. As your car heats up, you know, it runs, water circulates through it and everything. If for some reason your water pump creates a leak, or you have a leak around the hose or whatever, as it cools, it creates a vacuum. And the vacuum pulls coolant through this line here. And that's how this system works. And when it gets hot, if there's too much, it pushes it into this. Then as it cools, if it needs more, it takes it out of this. So let's get this washed out. Put some water in it. As you remember, we put that cleaner in here, so look at that. Ugh, God, what a muddy mess. What we're looking for is clean water. Here we go, nice clean water. Now we got to put it back. All right, cleaning up the tools. Before you put everything up, double check everything. Double check you got everything out. As you can see, there's no tools or anything laying around. I'm going to have to buy a new one of those pins. They sell them over at AutoZone, so I'll pick some of those up because it broke as I was pulling out. Because what happens is the small middle part pushes into this part and causes it to spread apart. But as you can see over time, one of the old pieces just deteriorated and broke off. So I'll stick that in my pocket and I'll pick up one tomorrow. Hose is on, it comes out of the heater core, so all that's done. Air tube's back on, wiring's back on, so we're good to fill it up with antifreeze. Again, just like in the video where I showed you how to purge the air, I'm going to do the same thing here. We'll take this screw out of this bleeder valve. Nice brand new jug of Freon, or antifreeze rather. By all means, make sure by now you have that bottom fill, the drain cock filled up. I mean closed up. Otherwise you're pouring this all on the ground. There's 1 gallon. Start on our next, and once this gets to where we can't really put any more in the radiator, we'll crank the car up. Now what we're looking for is a steady stream coming out of this. Once it's a steady stream and it's speeding up, stopping, speeding up, stopping, it's full. And yes, I know I have an exhaust leak. Oh man, wow. Tell you what, time change sure does make a big difference. Well, there you go. The plan was to get it done. We got her done. Not exactly how I figured it would end or would go, but yeah, we got it done. So here's a recap, just so you, for those people who skipped and missed it. We first put the car up on ramps. We drained the radiator. We then disconnected the hoses. We then back flushed the heater core, got all that rust out, and then we flushed it around the other way. Then we took the thermostat out, put the gasket back in, put everything back together, put the thermocure in it, put water in it, filled it up, drove it around for like 4 days, getting it good and hot, letting it sit out in the yard, letting the fans kick on and off. I mean, we've probably got 7-8 hours into this, and it only calls for 4 to 5. But the longer you leave it in and the more you drive it, the better it's going to do. As you can see in the video, I mean, it took out a lot of stuff. It's amazing at what it really did. Is it a cure-all? No. But if I do this again sometime, you know, within the next few months, and again at springtime, I bet you the inside of my cooling system will look really good for the age that it is. Now, once we got all that taken care of, we drained the thermocure out. I used water. I back flushed the heater core again. I back flushed the block, got it to where it was spitting out straight water. I flushed out the radiator to where it was straight water. I removed the overflow tank, the coolant reservoir, flushed it out, filled it up. Now the only thing about the coolant reservoir, the bolt in it was so rusty that when I did get it out, it stripped the threads, and the nut that goes on it is gone. So I'm going to get something like a license plate, because it's got a little square hole down there. I'm going to get something like a license plate push pin that you put in, and you take the bolt and thread through your license plate and lock it down. And then I'm going to get another push pin for the other side, and that'll take care of that. But anyhow, I put it all back together, got it ready to go back together. Then I took the vacuum cleaner, closed off all the lines, sucked out every ounce of water that I could get out of the radiator, that I could get out of the hoses, the heater core, everything. Filled it back up with brand new antifreeze, and put it in a new thermostat. And I just sat out there and got it nice and warm. And let me tell you, this thing is putting out some heat now. Before, I mean, sitting out there right now, it's like 75, 78 degrees. I could be sitting in the car right now with the heat on and wouldn't even break a sweat. I mean, I wouldn't even get hot. But I had it on just a second ago. I had to get out of that car. That heat was hot. And that's the whole purpose of doing this, is general maintenance and all that good stuff. Now, do you have to do all this? No. If you're just looking to treat your cooling system, get all the old antifreeze out of it and put in new antifreeze, and put in something to clean it a little bit, then just drain the radiator, suck out your overflow reservoir, right? Drain it, suck that out, put in the thermocure, put water in it, drive it around for a couple days, you know, here and there for a couple hours, drain it, flush it with regular water, with it running and everything, until it starts spitting out regular water. You can go in your upper radiator hose and fill the radiator there, and the pump, your water pump will pump it through the system, and just keep doing that until you get straight water. And then drain the system again, because that's gotten rid of all the thermocure. And I mean, it won't hurt if there's some in there. Don't get me wrong, it won't hurt anything. It's just going to keep fighting that rust the whole time it's in there. Then when you drain it again, it's gone. But anyhow, close it back off, put your antifreeze back in, okay? And then you're ready for the winter. Or you can go have it professionally done, where they suck out the antifreeze. It pumps it through, and you have brand new antifreeze all the way through. That's more pricey than doing this. This is a little time consuming, but you have the well worthwhile to know that you did it. You did this. And that's the whole point. I enjoy doing stuff like this. I enjoy spending time with my cars, working on them, making them better. And now I won't freeze to death in the wintertime when I drive that car to work. And that's the whole name of the game, right? Well, I hope this video might help somebody out there, because you don't have to do each and every single step. Every step I did was for a system that is just considered completely stopped up, okay? Just consider it that. And you can chop off, hack it up, however you want to, edit that system to fit your purpose. Because mine, I want to do the whole thing because the whole thing had rust in it. That's why I did it. You don't have to do the whole thing. But anyhow, get out there and enjoy your car. That's what this is all about. I enjoyed doing this. I had a kicker doing it. And now I got a couple more videos I'm going to be doing on the car. I'm going to be doing the throttle body bypass, and I have to work on my radio. I'm starting to get some feedback and noise through the speakers, and I think my factory speakers might be starting to go out because I have the Bose system in it. And for those that don't know, the Bose speakers, each individual speaker has its own amp. Well, I'm starting to get some noise through it, and I want to make sure that it's none of my wiring or anything for the radio that I put in and the subs and all that. So, long story short, I want to make sure there's nothing wrong with that and isolate whether it's the speakers or my wiring. So, until next time, get out there and enjoy your car. Hope this video helps somebody, and we'll see you in the next one.